Jillian Michaels is one of those liberals who's still able to see the truth in many topics despite the leftist mainstream media spin. And one of those topics, of course, is going to be illegal immigration. And we're going to see her spar with Abby Phillip over here on CNN. But before we get to these clips, don't forget to like and comment on this video so we can break through the algorithms. Here we go.
Now, just last summer, that same Gallup poll found 55% of Americans wanted to decrease the number of immigrants coming into the country. Now, today, that number is 30%. And now, even more Americans support giving immigrants in the country illegally a pathway to citizenship compared to last June. Now, this is kind of a surprising result because I think, Jillian, Trump is correct that he ran on immigration. He probably won on immigration. Americans were fed up with what seemed to be an incompetence on the part of the Biden administration in terms of dealing with the border. But the polling is going in the wrong direction. Americans, his approval rating on immigration is not good. And Americans say immigration is good. They want more of it. They want to give illegal immigrants legal status. Why would that be?
Well, the key word, though, is a legal pathway to citizenship. I believe that people don't want to see illegal immigration because it doesn't behoove anyone, including the people that come in illegally. They have no upward mobility, they have no job protections, they're not able to start businesses, and the list goes on and on. It creates resentment amongst citizens that are here, obviously born here, and people that did it legally. It doesn't behoove anyone. But I absolutely believe that both parties should stop the finger pointing and work towards radical immigration reform. I think most people feel that way.
Donald Trump's administration's immigration focuses on making a point and not making a difference. Right? It's making a point, and it's all about a press conference. It's about Kristi Noem getting up there for 15 minutes of fame, talking about a specific issue. These ICE raids don't make sense in my community. They probably don't make sense in your community to the rational-minded folks that are watching how this operates. If somebody's a criminal and a violent criminal or a drug dealer, we all agree we need to do something about that. But if Donald Trump would have just simply reversed Joe Biden's mistakes at the border and worked across the aisle to build an immigration policy that actually made sense, something like a 2-5-10 plan. Been here 10 years, paid taxes for 5 years, have 2 U.S. sponsors, something that grabs the wholesomeness of somebody's effort, not because they crossed the border 20 years ago to try to feed their family, but because they got here and they're trying to figure out the American dream as legally as they can, even though they got here illegally. But Donald Trump isn't. It's all about the next press conference. It's all about the next tweet. It's all about the next person. This alligator Alcatraz thing, I mean, try to explain that to your kids at home. Like, what is this about? This is so juxtaposed to what we learn in church, right? Like, you don't treat people like that and talk about, I mean, you incarcerate somebody if they're a criminal, I understand, but to gallivant, it almost seems barbaric. It is barbaric.
I want to give you the other side here. First of all, obviously, Alligator Alley and what's going on there is disturbing. But here's the counter argument. You're pointing fingers, and where was everybody pointing fingers with Obama's cages? But let's go a step further.
Although I will say, people did complain about Obama's immigration enforcement.
I remember canonizing Obama and not really knowing about this because no one talked about it.
People did complain, especially immigration advocates. They livid with Obama.
Okay, let's say that's true. I remember Obama being a hero of the left. He was a hero of mine. I didn't know about these cages until we saw Trump put people in them. Now, with that said, let's look at what just happened at the glass house marijuana farm. Here's what people don't want to see. On the other side, they don't want to see people throwing rocks into the cars of federal agents. They don't want to hear that someone supposedly opened fire on them. They also don't want to learn that there are a bunch of kids there that are undocumented or unaccompanied, and they think this is crazy talk, and we should be focusing on that. For one thing, how did those kids get there?
Well, I just want to add one thing. We do have to go, but the UFW, the United Farm Workers, put out a statement about this. They said the UFW can confirm farm workers were critically injured yesterday during chaotic raids in Ventura County, California. Others, including U.S. citizens, remain totally unaccounted for. Many workers, including U.S. citizens, were held by federal authorities at the farm for 8 hours or more. U.S. citizen workers report only being released after they were forced to delete photos and videos of the raid from their phones. They also added that farm work is exempted from child labor laws. So
you're telling me undocumented?
I'm not saying the undocumented.
I'm not talking about the marijuana farm.
I'm not talking about the undocumented part, but according to this statement, in this country, not just at farm, not at marijuana
don't
farms,
give me
at all
semantics.
farms.
Look at the reality of what we're talking about. How did an unaccompanied, undocumented 14-year-old in the middle of the day?
I believe that, and many people might believe, children should be subject to child labor laws.
Absolutely.
But it's true in this country that when it comes to agricultural work, they're not, and that includes marijuana farms. So the legality of their status is a separate issue, but the fact of children being there is not actually something that is necessarily illegal.
I have a really hard time believing
So there's that. So it's not unusual for there to be teenagers and working in a farm.
A 14-year-old can work at a marijuana growing.
It doesn't matter whether it's a marijuana farm or an apple farm.
A kid can't work at a bar.
It's agriculture. They're not smoking
If that's the law, that's outrageous.
They're cultivating.
So Jillian Michaels is over here being the lone voice of reason on the panel, saying that, yes, the American people are not necessarily for the blanket amnesty or the pathway to citizenship, as is being described by Abby Phillip. Yes, it does create resentment among people who've actually come here into this country and done it the right way, and now, of course, are in this backlog of folks trying to get their citizenship. Okay, but also she's saying the American people are against these attacks on ICE officers. No one wants to see the rocks being thrown and the possible gunfire taking place when people are just simply enacting and enforcing federal law. And of course, the American people definitely don't want to see undocumented, unaccompanied migrant children, illegal alien children, by the way, and who knows who their guardians are, who's taking care of them out there during all this, working on pot farms. But of course, according to Abby Phillip, it's the exact same thing as picking apples. So you have nothing to worry about. But a lot of this, of course, is stemming from that new Gallup poll that the left, of course, is loving to tout. And it came out and said a couple of things here, and I want to talk about that. Notice it says right here that support for the present level of immigration has grown. Now, this poll was conducted in June, and guess what had just been reported in June? That basically our illegal immigration at the southern border was effectively zero. So it doesn't surprise me at all that support for the present level of immigration has grown because Donald Trump has effectively shut the border down. All right. And notice how support for decreasing immigration has also decreased because people recognize that, yeah, having some immigration is good when it's legal. All right. But of course, what Abby Phillip is going to try to point out is that, hey, guess what? People are actually for the pathways and there's a shifting narrative, etc. Except for it's not quite that way because we just had a polling of Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill. And inside that big, beautiful bill is support for illegal immigration deportations. Okay. And if you follow this, and by the way, this is a Harvard-Harris poll, and this is left-leaning, but up here, deport at least 1 million undocumented immigrants annually. That has 53% support and only 36% opposing, with 12% not sure how to think about it. So yes, the majority of Americans, despite what Abby Phillip is saying and is thinking, still support getting rid of all undocumented immigrants. But that dredges up a different point brought up by Jeff Duncan, that never-Trumper out of Georgia. And he says that, hey, Donald Trump, you're just doing all of this wrong. You have to come together with Democrats because obviously we can all agree that we want to deport criminal, illegal aliens, the violent ones at the very least. And of course, the problem with that statement is, no, that's not true. The Democrats have fought tooth and nail to keep even the worst of the worst in this country. All right, that's exactly what they've been doing over these last several months. You have somebody who's a human trafficker, keep them in this country. You have somebody who's an assaulter, keep them in this country. Somebody who's a thief and a robber, keep them in this country. Somebody who's done awful things to children, and the Democrats want to keep them in this country. There is no middle ground on that issue because the Democrats don't want to cede anything to the Republicans. They don't want to admit that we're right. Okay, but then Jeff has to come out and make it even worse and say, this is not what we're taught in Sunday school, right? This is not what Jesus said. Well, don't forget what Jesus said. He said to render to Caesar what is Caesar's. In other words, follow the law of the land. All right. And the law of the land is no illegal immigration. If you come into this country illegally, you will be arrested and then deported. But I guess scoring political points and siding with the left, those people who don't even know what a woman is and don't want to protect children from a lot of crazy leftist ideas, is more important than protecting American citizens. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and say hi to your mom for me. Do you like t-shirts? Of course you do. And now you can support the channel by buying an Angry Teacher t-shirt designed by me, Angry Teacher. So if you like America, if you like freedom, if you like liberty, then go ahead and click the link in the description where all designs, of course, are 100% mother approved. So enjoy yourself and find something you like today.